morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. I'm your host, Jonathan Cilia, joined by my co-host, Tim Diacono, and here are your headlines for today. Restaurants in Malta closed and private gatherings limited in new COVID-19 measures. Dining industry has become a sacrificial lamb, restaurant lobby warns. Joseph Muscat's lawyer's daughter-in-law to oversee Maxar brothers' evidence compilation in murder cases. Animal Commissioner reports shocking footage of animal being forced to smoke a cigarette, and Rosian Kotaya's Jorgen Fennick payment is missing from her official tax returns. Now, before we jump into the first story, stay with us to the end of today's episode because we've got a great interview with PN's Shadow Energy Minister, Ryan Callus. But Tim, major stories happening yesterday, right?
Absolutely. So the big story yesterday was the Prime Minister announcing a raft of new and pretty harsh restrictions to contain the spread of COVID-19. So restaurants and cafes have been forced to close except for takeaway and delivery until at least 11th April. Private gatherings at households have been limited to a maximum of 4 different households, so a clampdown on private parties. Contact sport among children has been banned. Hospital visits as well have been banned, and the planned easing of social distancing rules at old people's homes has been put on hold. So yes, I mean, after days saying that new measures weren't necessary, all of a sudden they have become necessary now, and no scientific evidence has yet been published to prove why these measures are necessary. Remember, Charmaine Gauci's first said that restaurants aren't risky, and now she said that they are risky. So what do you make of this?
It was a major day, and obviously, listen, at Lovin Malta, we're all foodies here. Myself, I'm a massive foodie, so it was really disheartening to see that, restaurants are going to be the next cohort to really bear the brunt of this COVID-19 pandemic. And this actually leads us on to the next story, something that's really important. Malta's leading restaurant lobby has actually spoken out, and they've spoken to their members, and they said, listen guys, now it's really time to be prudent with your money, with your savings, and they even asked if maybe it might be time to delay payments to certain creditors, such as landlords. The Association for Catering Establishments issued a very strongly worded statement to the Prime Minister yesterday, Robert Abela, after the announcement was made, and they said, clearly, quote, catering establishments are not the problem, and the health authorities are perfectly aware of this. The government, in its PR exercise, has made restaurants out to be a sacrificial lamb. It wasn't just the lobby itself, leading chefs and restaurant owners have also taken social media to complain and lament the fact that their sacrifices and hard work over the last 12 months has now been undone. There was a serious sense of disappointment. What was your feed like last night?
Well, of course, I think they're absolutely right. So the Prime Minister said yesterday that this is a collective sacrifice that we're making all together, but it's not exactly true because these people having to sacrifice way more than other people, himself included, and they've been laid out to dry. Now, I obviously, they're currently saying it's only until 11th April, so that could be fine. But we all know what happened to bars, that they've every month they've just kept closed. They've just been forced to remain closed. So my heart goes out to restaurants, and I really think the government should really make sure that they survive, because it would be a complete tragedy for the nation if, as a result of the pandemic, people end up unemployed and we lose some of our great restaurants. Moving on to our next story, unrelated to COVID-19, but the compilation of evidence against Robert and Adrian Ajus, known as the Maxar brothers, and Jamie Vella, has started today in court in relation to the assassinations of Daphne Caruana Galizia and of lawyer Carmel Kirkhope. So they were arrested recently, major story, and compilation is set to begin today. However, don't expect too much in terms of actual information, because the magistrate overseeing this case is Nadine Leah, who is the daughter-in-law of Paolo Leah, who's the personal lawyer of Prime Minister Joseph Muscat, and the lawyers of Daphne Caruana Galizia's family are filing a case a request in the court for her to recuse herself from this case, and this is happening right now as we speak.
Exactly, it's happening right now, so definitely be following lovinmalta.com for more developments on this case. But what's important to note here is that this is not the first time that she's been asked to recuse. In fact, she has recused herself twice before in relation to the Daphne Caruana assassination case. So yes, we'll definitely be following this story. I'm moving on to a really crazy story that happened yesterday evening. The Animal Commissioner from Malta, Alison Benzina, has filed a police report, over this shocking video that's been going viral on social media. In the video, which is taken inside a car, there's this little animal, I'm not sure if it's a sheep or a small calf maybe, wrapped in blankets. Quite a serene scene until someone shows up with a cigarette and places the cigarette in the animal's mouth. The cigarette remains there for maybe 10-15 seconds. And obviously many people were outraged at this video. Obviously, smoking in humans is unhealthy, let alone in an animal, let alone in a small animal as it seemed. The animal seemed a little bit drowsy as well, so I'm not really sure what's happening there. But yes, a police report has now been filed over this video.
I just don't know how people still think they can just post literal animal abuse to social media and get away with it. It's always been problematic, but especially now. And it was literally posted, I think it was on TikTok or on Instagram. I mean, come on, you're just asking for trouble there. Moving on to our final story, Rosian Kotayar's tax returns reveal that she did not declare an alleged €50,000 payment from murder suspect Jorgen Finnick. So, just as a quick reminder, Rosian Kotayar was recently suspended as parliamentary secretary due to these allegations that she received some underhanded payment for negotiating a property deal involving Jorgen Finnick, and now Lovin Malta did reveal her tax returns. She declared around €200,000 over a 3-year period, but this €50,000 fee from Jorgen Finnick is missing. So this could mean either it never happened or she didn't declare it. Which was it?
I don't know which one it was, but it seems like at this point every single week there's a new story about Rosian Kotayar coming out. I mean, what's interesting is she was back in Parliament, right?
Yeah.
This week. Obviously, she had resigned from her role as the Parliamentary Secretary for Reforms, even though she remains on as MP. But she was back in Parliament a couple of times this week. Once, I think, literally as protesters were outside of Parliament, asking for her to resign in full. I caught her second parliamentary speech where she was talking about cannabis reform, where she was making some interesting points. But, it does seem like Rosian Kotayar will have to do something major if she really truly intends to somehow cast off the shadow of doubt that's been placed on her. Before we cut to our very interesting interview today, we're going to show you a trailer of the latest episode of Lovin Malta series, Meet the Boss. And if you want to be a part of the series, definitely get in contact with us and we'll see what we can make happen. Let's cut to the video now.
When I was growing up, I didn't have a work-life balance. My life was my work and my work was my life. And I think that was very much because I was really ambitious. In our lives, we do not have to be successful business people. We have to be good people. We have to be loving people, and we have to always try to help each other.
Welcome back to Lovin Daily. With me now is Ryan Callus, Shadow Minister for Energy. Hi, Ryan.
Good morning, Tim. Thank you for inviting me. This is my first interview on Lovin Malta. Thank you.
That's right. So before we get into the Nationalist Party's energy policy, I'd like to just get your reaction to the Prime Minister's announcement yesterday that new restrictions will be announced, will be coming into play for COVID-19.
Well, yes, Tim. Yesterday was a dramatic day with regards to COVID. We've seen, unfortunately, a Prime Minister who is unable to handle pressure in view of the large number and record number of COVID cases piling up. As an opposition party, we have expressed that This is unacceptable. It looks like the system is totally out of control. We have, in fact, reports of who actually took the vaccine up till now. And that is why yesterday, leader Bernard Grech called for an inquiry, an independent inquiry, so that we can ascertain that going forward, most importantly, those who are truly vulnerable and who are truly, in danger will be the first to take this vaccine. But certainly, it's a situation which has gone out of control, and the government and the Prime Minister needs to take accountability for this.
Yeah, let's hope we have some kind of at least some transparency about what's going
Definitely,
on, even
yes.
in the vaccination program. So let's move on to the PN's energy plan. So Malta has ambitious EU targets. It must achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. And both the PN and a few days after you announced it, even the government said the same. You're both calling for offshore wind farms to help us get there. So in terms of energy policy, does it really matter which party is running the country, seeing as they both have the same plan?
Well, good question. It somehow matters because days after we came up with our vision, short-term, medium-term, long-term measures, it seems the Labour Party, in particular my colleague Miriam Dalli, went on a panic mode trying to, come out with a number of proposals. In particular, the proposal which makes justice with those who have invested in PV panels and who are today ending up getting paid less than one actually pays when purchasing electricity from Enel Malta. It is good to see, from my perspective, that at least we have now a government who is convinced on wind energy. Wind energy is important, Tim, not only because this new technology is now going into deep sea offshore, therefore doing without mainland usage of land, which is definitely not the way to go.
So these wind farms, saying 10 kilometers off the coast of Malta, how effective are they, and how many would we need to actually build?
Okay, so 10 kilometers offshore, you would have a depth of about 200, 250 meters. That is what the current technology offers, which has developed strongly, which has developed substantially from 10 years ago when the Nationalist Party had proposed the then wind farm offshore. Obviously, why wind? Because we are almost, not yet, but we are almost approaching our potential onshore for photovoltaics. And that is only our current target, our current achievement is only 10% of the amount of energy that we consume. We would like to achieve a 30% threshold. So that is 3 times as much what we have today.
Of renewables?
Of renewables. Okay. So the only, as we're seeing things developing, and after having consulted a number of experts in the field, it looks like this is the best potential that we can, tap into. One, because it doesn't require onshore land. It is a project which would be developed offshore, and of that we have, unlimited resource. But more importantly, one would have to highlight that this technology, although it is a leading technology, there are other countries who have already implemented this. Scotland, Portugal, Spain has 2 weeks ago said that it would be investing in the largest offshore wind farm currently existing, and we've also heard recently Sicily.
And Denmark.
And also Denmark, of course, because the northern countries are always first, and they are an example to all other member states and other countries in this sector. So this technology is relatively still more expensive than conventional technology or conventional ways of generating energy. However, we are, a member of the European Union. We have this possibility of tapping into EU funds. Portugal has done this. They have implemented their project thanks to funds from the EU Commission and from the European Investment Bank. So apart from eventually, providing clean air, which is a a health aspect which we should not undermine in these discussions. We tend to always focus on the financial aspect. Let us not undermine and forget about the health aspect, which would provide our country with a better quality of air.
So why your aim is 30%, right, of all our energy from renewables? Why not 100%?
Well, because
isn't that the ultimate goal?
It is ultimate. That was the best case scenario. But let's not forget, Tim, that there are issues related to energy, to security of supply. Renewables, be it solar or wind, suffer from what we call intermittency. So there are instances when you would not have wind, and when it comes to photovoltaics, during the night you would not generate energy. So we cannot, unfortunately I would say, because in spite of being clean energy, physically from an engineering perspective, you cannot rely solely on renewables. You would still need turbines, eventually converted from gas to hydrogen, but also one of our proposals is to invest in a second interconnector, which today everyone is, accepting the fact that the first interconnector has been a success story, so why not install a second one, which can give us access to wider markets without any take or pay obligation, as the Labour government has entered into with Electrogas. And also, you can buy from different sources at different prices at different times of the day, and the amount as much as you would need.
So we'll have two interconnectors, all these wind farms, not to mention all the solar panels that people will be erecting, and all the solar farms as well. Will there be, is there a risk that we're going to be producing too much energy?
Okay,
too much electricity?
Good question. The demand is expected to increase over the coming years. Okay, in my presentation, when we launched our vision, we explained how the demand is expected to increase till 2040. Mainly due to the electrification of transport. Okay, this country needs to go along with convincing people of the change in culture required to change our cars from cars being based on fossil fuels to cars which run on electricity. That, together with a major mass transit system, which is also necessary, because we should not only direct our population to simply be dependent on their own car, but it would be better even to decrease traffic to have mass transit. These two together will see an increase in the energy demand. So replying to your question, one would think that this is, over-exaggerating. We're not. We need to be ready for the increase in demand, and it would be best if we obtain that energy from clean sources. Mm-hmm. Having said that, Tim, this doesn't mean that we do not incentivize people into energy efficiency. Okay, energy efficiency is very important because we need to also, as part of this culture change, to make our citizens appreciate the fact that when you invest in energy efficient systems, you not only help the country to reduce the demand on electricity and reduce the emissions in the air, but you also benefit from cheaper bills.
And in fact, just to get further into this point, so you're saying that the current incentives to install solar panels at your home aren't strong enough because the government is buying electricity from you at a cheaper rate than you're going to end up having to pay them.
Well, yes, basically because there are a number of schemes whose contract has expired, and these schemes have even recently been issued as late as 2019. What happens when your contract expires of the existing feed-in tariff, which could be 22 cents, 15 cents, 14, whatever, your payment from ARMS goes down to 7 cents 5. But then, so what you're generating is being sold to Malta at 7 cents 5, which is green energy at your home. But then to buy electricity from Malta, you need to pay Malta 10 cents 5. To us, this is unacceptable. Why? Because in principle, as a matter of principle, green energy must at least to start off today, be compensated in equal measure as that which is generated through conventional means, through gas, which is not totally clean.
Isn't there also an argument that the 10 cents 5 also doesn't just include the electricity, but includes the added costs, the maintenance, the human resources? So you're also paying for that as well?
Well, listen.
As a premium?
This is an argument which Ene Malta might push forward, but let us not forget that our customers are paying for the rent of the meter. There are other ways how Ene Malta is making good for the distribution and for the distribution costs. So, to me, that argument is still does still not justify the fact that we should compensate green energy consumers equally to what is generated from Ene Malta. And this proposal has been a success. Why? Because a few days later we announced it, Miriam Dalli, and I am happy that this has happened, went publicly stating that she will implement this. She will implement this measure. And if this is anything, it shows that the Nationalist Party from the opposition is already setting the national agenda, and this is evident because the government is, let's say, call it what you like, copying, implementing the proposals which we are issuing.
Some of the energy proposals that the Nationalist Party has been pushing for the last few years now is with regards the power station in Delamara, the one run by Electrogas. What role, if any, does this power station have in your plan?
Well, let's say that this is the Achilles heel in all this energy mix. Why? Because Konrad Mizzi has unfortunately entered into a contract on behalf of the government to purchase 80% of the energy generated by Electrogas, whether we need it, and in spite of the fact that it is the highest generator in terms of money-wise. So Electrogas is the highest energy generator currently, which is around 11 cents, circa somewhere in that region. Second cheapest is the BWSC, which has now been purchased by Shanghai Electric. And the third cheapest, and which is the cheapest of all generators, is the interconnector. So this is the major problem which we are facing currently in the energy mix presently in place. The Nationalist Party has made something very clear, that this take or pay 80% would be studied well once nationalist administration is in power. If you would ask me, Ryan, why would you do it now? We cannot do this now because the Labour Party continues to hide these contracts. So the essential parts which bind us strictly to these agreements remain hidden from public sight. But this is a commitment which we have binded ourselves to, that we would assess these existing commitments, and no matter what can be done, any action which can be taken in this regard to reduce that 80% take or pay, we would do that because that would lead to further reduction in utility bills.
So you're not promising to actually dismantle the power station entirely and kick Electrogas out of the country. Like before, the party was describing this power station as a monument of corruption.
Indeed, and this is a very important point. We did not discard that fact in the eventuality, and there are proceedings going on, as you know very well, with regards to the alleged mastermind behind the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia. In the eventuality that it is confirmed that Electrogas is the source of corruption, then there are other legal avenues which would, provide a nationalist government of the day the possibility to take even stricter measures in this regard. Yes.
And what will happen then? The state will nationalize the power station and convert it into hydrogen?
That is one of the avenues, but it is we are not excluding anything which is the fruit of corruption, and more importantly, is linked to the assassination of a journalist. So there is absolutely no questions asked there. Our determination in this regard is 100% clear.
And finally, just to wrap it off, the Nationalist Party has often been criticised, especially when it was in government, for keeping electricity bills at quite a high price. And the Labour Party made was quite critical about this, and then the prices did go down. So how can people trust the party not to increase electricity bills if it's elected to government?
Okay, good question. You cannot understand or comprehend the bills which were issued in 2013 without accepting the fact that back then in 2013, 2012, following the financial crisis, the price of oil per barrel was over $100 per barrel. Okay? Subsequently, this price fell dramatically. And that is what led to the Labour administration to effectively be in a position to lower the utility bills. However,
It's going to rise again, though, eventually.
it could rise again, yes. And in fact, that is a possibility which Labour never speak about. But hand on heart today, the Nationalist Party has come out with its vision. We didn't wait for the electoral manifesto to come up with this plan, Tim. This is part of a consultation exercise, and it was also part of giving the people out there an alternative which gives reduced utility bills, but more importantly, or equally important, a good air quality.
Ryan Callus, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sticking with us on Lovin Daily. Make sure you follow lovinmalta.com for all the latest updates on what's going on in this country. And until we meet again, have a day full of lovin'.